It's hopping off of, it's going somewhere.
Can you all hear us? Okay, I'm assuming we can't hear you. I think you're on mute, or maybe you're having
Sorry,
some
guys.
tech problems.
No, we're just getting everything prepped. We'll be up and running in just a minute. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Peter, can you hear them?
Yep.
Oh. Uh-oh. Needs to turn off this.
Not.
Is Judy joining? No. Judy is not able to.
No, she has a conflict, but I still.
Really good. I printed one like that, but I wouldn't mind it again, yeah. Because
I'm gonna mute us until we're ready to go, if that's okay. Why is it?
And
Billy, can you hear us now?
I can, yeah, thanks.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so. We do have a quorum.
You know, I'm gonna go to the other side, just so we can talk
So
better.
we're balanced.
We have Brooke. And. This isn't funky. Hong Kong.
But she just picked it up, right? But you just did.
We have one big. I'm missing someone. We got Girls Against Boys.
Matt and Joe,
I don't have Joe down there, but that's just.
and Brooke can't make it.
Brooke can't make it.
Mike Mazzarelli, he said he'll be here.
I have
for
Abby.
commission. Abby will be here.
Oh.
So why don't you just switch the,
For,
no one's off.
because we're 10
It's
members right now.
Nicola, what was bothering you was mechanical.
Do you have, are you not including
It's
yourself?
like a brand new
Not
computer,
myself.
not even a year old, so
Christina's on here.
I just,
Christina.
I guess I just,
Mike,
I'm a loud typist.
Well, that was very good mission.
Yeah, no worries,
Right.
just
Yeah,
if I
No,
ever
that's everybody.
That's okay.
do that, please tell me at the time so I can make adjustments without torturing you.
So we are live streaming for the planning board right now.
Okay,
Extra.
Yeah,
great. We're gonna, Dylan and Peter, we're just gonna try to wait a couple minutes, see if we can get some more members in here. Okay,
So I don't think we,
Planning
will.
board then.
We're not going to,
Okay.
we're doing the planning board right now.
so.
We're doing the vision statement and
Oh,
you
that's
have a
right.
quorum, the three of you, Nat and Joe aren't coming.
I just.
Abby is watching online. Her childcare doesn't come till 5.
All right, so Howard.
Well, no, you just need 3. So you, Hillary, John is 3. That's a quorum.
Okay. And we don't have.
We don't have Nat, we don't have Joe,
And you shipped.
but we do have a quorum, so we can
Okay,
begin.
Leslie,
all right.
before the meeting starts, so, you know, it's funny, we were thinking the same thing, but as I was reading these.
All right, everyone, welcome to the special meeting of planning board, Monday the 23rd. We are in the trailer today. I'm gonna take a quick roll call. Joe Topham's not here, Nat Lowell's not here, John Kitchener.
Yeah.
Hillary Radford,
Here.
Howard Matz.
Yes.
Abby Di Molina. Not on.
She's
yet.
on as an attendee.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Stephen Welch.
Nope.
All right, for staff, we have Meg Trudell,
Here.
Leslie Snell. That's it.
Yep.
All right, great. I would take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Howard, you can't second, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Second.
Motion made by John, seconded by Hillary. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. So, review of the updated draft vision statements. Hopefully everyone's read them. On to Dylan and Peter.
Yeah, thank you. So do you want us to share screen and read through them, or do you guys feel like you read them and you want to dive into conversation about them?
Has everyone read them?
I've read them.
Comfortable with what's in them? Okay, yeah, let's just dive right in then, guys.
All right, so I mean, so what do you what do you think? You asked us to combine versions B and C. We did that. Your direction was basically to, you liked the shortness, the brevity of version B, but you liked all the details that were in version C. So we tried to do that and keep, in one version, we kept the kind of paragraph format of B, but added more detail about the focus areas for the master plan. And then the second version, we made a bulleted list, because people were saying that they wanted it to be punchy and direct. And then there's a version 2B, which is the same bullet as 2, but has a different introductory sentence. So I guess the first question is for all of you, is either one of these preferable?
Yeah, okay, Peter. So, just a couple of sentences to, like, both of these are needed. Not at some point, both are needed now, because version 1 I like, but it's gotta have, version 2 has got to be there, because that's the focus points, the focus areas that are going to bring this thing to life or not. So if version 1 is the vision, and in the same, wherever you're using it, you're talking about, and this is what it means in the areas of focus for this thing, then I would be good with version 1 and with version 2 in there, with that as focus area. If not, then I would go for version 2 and version 2B, just because the words are a little better. But so that's me.
So John asked a question about how this is going to integrate with the rest of the plan. And, we're going to have a vision statement, and then our plan is going to have chapters, and we're going to have goals. Each topic will have a chapter or section, and then we're going to have goals. And they will they map to the bullet points? So in other words, can you answer John's question? Which is, I don't know how the group is coming out, but if the preference is for prose, do we get the bullet points pulled out as an abstract attached to the sections? Or if people do want the prose and also want something scannable, if I understand John correctly, he's suggesting we use both as the vision statement. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, but in my world, you'd sort of perhaps the bullet points might more be like a mission statement, perhaps. I get the vision should be sure. I don't want to have that conversation again, but somehow I don't think it would be good if wherever we are, we're just using the vision and nobody's talking about what it means.
Well, they're both vision, right?
Yeah.
They're both visions.
Well,
It's just that one's in bullet points. I thought my personal feeling was I like them both. I have tweaks that I'm suggesting for both. And I truly would go with whatever the preference of the overall group is if people felt stronger. I like the prose, but I really do recognize a lot of people like to scan stuff quickly and it makes it a little more digestible. So I see arguments for both.
Yeah, so just to go back to the question, yes, the master plan will have goals. and it'll have an implementation plan. So typically that's either something like goals, objectives, and actions, or goals, policies, and strategies, or some sort of framework that Barra Planning Group will develop that links between the vision, which describes what's most important to you and what you want to accomplish. And then the goals are, top level statements of, I guess, they're again, what you want to accomplish, but typically more measurable and focused on different elements of the master plan. So version 2 is definitely crossing the line more towards goal statement. Version 1 is a bit more descriptive of the results that you get, the vision, the vision elements. So I think that in either case, whether if you go with the bullets that are in version 2, you may have goals that are similar or more detailed. That's to be determined as the implementation plan gets developed. But in either case, you will have some statements of goals, and the whole implementation plan likely will be organized around those.
Great. Thank you. Abby, 1 second. I'm gonna go to Peter first. I mean, no, Howard, not Peter.
Depends on which meeting we're having. I just want to compliment you. I think your prose is really terrific and well written, and it's unusual. So thank you for that. I'm of the ilk that, or the mind that those bullet points are really nice to follow this really lovely prose paragraph, so that I think someone said, if you want to read this quickly and you want to know what the content is, look at the bullet points. I do want to make sure that the bullet points somewhat track your table of contents, so that we're same order, same context, we're not missing anything. Maybe we're not as explicit as a table of contents, but it's inclusive.
So you favor the pros,
I like both.
or you
You
like
like
both?
both.
I like them both. I think they're both really well done, and I think the bullet points just land it.
Okay, perfect. Abby?
I think I was thinking about what Dylan was saying. I think if we're going to also write goals, I think we should use the bullets for the actual goals, because I do agree people look at those, but like if that's actually linking to specific goals, and then like Hillary said, like then you can further reference it throughout the document. I think we should use the bullets in the goals, and then the vision statement should be the pros, but like truly just be the pros, because you're going to have that bulleted kind of step-by-step piece as your goals, and that will tie directly to the different sections. Just my thought.
That's a very good point.
Yes. Would you have the goal section right after the introductory statement then?
Is that for Dylan? Or you?
Either Abby or Dylan. I was kind of thinking Dylan because she had a thought on this.
I mean, I would defer to Dylan, but I mean, I think that's fine. Like, I hear what you guys are saying about combining it. I just agree, Howard, like the idea of having the bullets is what is going to draw people's eye. But I think if we're using that to then be like, okay, these are the bullets, but then it links directly to the different sections, I think that flows in that people will be able to follow that trail. Whereas the vision's more of like a holistic concept. I like the pros, like you guys do as well. And so I think truly if it's just a vision statement, it doesn't need to be bulleted, because we can use the bullets later.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I like the idea of the pros followed by goals that we're
Yeah.
pulling out of the document, and we can always revisit them, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just, so I'm just agreeing with everybody, I guess. Because I think, Dylan, you have to sort of think through like, well, when are we gonna use the vision? Well, we're not gonna have a meeting with people and say, our vision is. Yeah, okay, then what? And so to have them linked together it allows you to talk about what the vision is, but it also allows you to land it in terms that people understand about, well, what is it then? In the real world, what is it? So yeah, why not have?
No, great, thank you. Dylan, does this make sense for how
Yeah,
you?
sure. Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, as I said in the last meeting, the vision is kind of linking between the existing conditions analysis and the public input, and then moving into an implementation plan, right? So establishing the big framework of what it is you want, and then in the implementation plan, you get into more specifics. So I think that these bullet points are probably the kind of, they're heading towards the goal statements. I think they're the top level items. When you get into your implementation plan, you might find that there are more detailed goals under those. It's probably going to be more than this. But I think it does make sense that you could keep the prose paragraph. And you could even put it out now as sort of with like these bullet points as kind of draft goals or something like that. But you are going to have to, I wouldn't get attached to them as the goals of the master plan at this point, because there's a lot of work left to be done. And Barrett Planning Group definitely has to weigh in on that and be part of that. So I think they could either end up in the vision, or they could end up in the goals, and it's kind of a matter of both style and content. And the content part is to be determined.
There he
Oh,
is.
there we go.
Okay, sorry.
Dylan, if you can hear us, I think we missed the last minute. If you were speaking, we froze here.
Okay. I think I don't know where you froze. I was
I think
kind
the
of
last
anyway,
part was-
so it's fine. But basically what I said is, I think you can have it makes sense to have the prose, and then to follow with something that's, bulleted. You may have additional goals on top of those when the master plan gets fully built out. So I think for now, if you were putting it out to the public, you could basically have the prose paragraph and then say something like draft goals under consideration, or preliminary priorities for the master plan might be a better way to say it. Just to keep things clear and not cross into the implementation plan, which Barrett is going to have to work through in detail.
Okay, so board members, I'm just gonna kind of everyone's comfortable with the pros, correct?
I actually
With
have some
okay,
comments
we can
that
get
whenever it's time,
Okay,
I'd like.
But the basic pros, we'll see what the drafts that come through are. Everyone's comfortable with that. Everyone's comfortable with having the bullet points in the goals section, with the understanding that it might not be exactly on the page, it's gonna be more added, it might be a little different, but that will be the basic structure.
I think Dylan's word of priorities is perhaps.
Priorities, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, so everyone's agreeable with that. So Hillary, let's go to your drafts on the pros.
Okay. All right, Dylan and Peter, I had a few comments. Maybe I'll start actually with one of the bullet points first, and then just some short comments about the pros. So, on the bullet point that is diversify our economy, I think that all of the sessions that the community engagement sessions really emphasize that people feel like there is a link between the economic activity that we have on the island, that we're loving the island to death. There's this link between the way we are growing and how our economy works, and the environmental problems that we're having, the crowding problems that we're having. And so I am going to suggest a different bullet point that kind of adds something to make that link, because I don't think it was quite clear in the bullets.
Mhm.
My suggestion is that it says diversify our economy for sustainable growth that allows us to protect our natural and historic resources, maintain our infrastructure, ensure essential services, and the rest is just like that. So I'm getting the diversify our economy, but linking it to sustainable growth that allows us to protect our natural and historic resources, maintain our infrastructure, and ensure essential services remain available on island, and just like the rest, which is that residents have access to meaningful year-round employment opportunities.
All right, can you read that just one more time? So diversify
Sure.
our economy for sustainable
Yeah.
growth.
Diversify our economy for sustainable growth that allows us to protect our natural and historic resources, maintain our infrastructure, ensure essential goods and services remain available on the island, and residents have access to meaningful year-round employment opportunities.
All right, so I have diversify our economy for sustainable growth that allows us to protect our natural and historic resources, maintain our infrastructure, ensure essential goods and services, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah being it remains the same as it was before. The rest of the sentence. I lose you guys? You look frozen. I think they're frozen.
Oh dear.
Hello?
The concept of sustainability and create new bullet points with some of the other topics.
Okay,
And by the way, some of them
I
are
mean,
there.
some of the bullet points are really long, so, I mean, I just don't know, people, I like the idea that we're declaring that we can't grow if we're not protecting what we have. You know, we can't grow if we're not maintaining our infrastructure.
It's true, but your first bullet point, in that context, does say preserve our ecosystem.
Yes, that is
It's not
true.
exactly in the context of
Yeah.
sustainable growth, but it isn't exclusive.
I agree with that, and I did consider that. I just wanted to link it to the economy. Then I also felt that the bullet points and the pros did not have something and lacked something about quality schools and healthy activities for youth. I mean, we certainly observed that in the survey, it was skewed towards older people. You know, we didn't have a lot of working people with families at these events. I held a kitchen conversation where everybody in my group was a working family raising kids in the school system on the island. And the enormous takeaway, the number one thing that came out of my conversation was they want a youth center, like a big kind of YMCA kind of thing. And so I just think we can't have a thriving year-round community if we're not providing, if we're not thinking about our young people and also our elders. So I felt that that was something missing from both the bullet points and the pros. I didn't write up anything to workshop, but I just observed.
No, I think it's a very good observation.
Leslie?
Can I just add to that?
Yes.
The Barrett Planning Group did the engagement with the civics class in the 8th grade, and that came out of, you know, their session as well, that
Right.
they would like to see, you know, more activities and better school options.
And I know I've heard from other people like Joe V, who's very big proponent of making sure that your point is actually established and implemented. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's lots of data that supports that. I had in the pros, I just had a couple tweaks. Oh, I see Abby has her hand up.
Abby?
Sorry. I think Hillary, I think brought up a good point, but I wanted to say one of the things that I've heard a lot, and I think we've heard at previous planning board, is like an indoor rec, like an indoor, specifically the indoor rec center. I think that's been something that's been floated a lot, you know, because I think the Boys and Girls Club it's obviously not free. And I think just there's been a lot of feedback from the community when stuff has come up that they want that indoor recreation spot.
Yeah. And I think something that specific would be in the goals and implementation, but I was suggesting that we have some phrase about quality schools and healthy activities for youth, and also consider, support for our elders. So then,
I agree with that. I mean, I think that's another thing people have brought up is a better center for the elderly.
I think those are two very good additions.
and then in the pros, this is a little bit of a, I mean, I know what, Dylan and Peter, I know what you mean, but just given the sensitivity that came out in our community sessions, I'm going to suggest that we replace the phrase "can build their futures" with the word "prospering." One, it's shorter, and two, and then I also wanted to suggest replacing
Before we move on to the next one, so instead of "can build their futures," "can prosper"?
It would just say, I'll start at the sentence. As a result, we will maintain a thriving year-round community and so instead of "where are," it would say "of diverse residents and visitors prospering alongside our beautiful natural and historic resources."
I'm curious what other people think of that suggestion.
Read it one more time.
That we are a community of diverse residents and visitors prospering alongside our beautiful natural and historic resources.
I think the visitors and the prospering is awkward.
But visitors building their future is equally awkward.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
I with that as well,
Yeah.
but it was.
What's awkward about can build their futures?
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear that last speaker.
No, I'm just wondering what's awkward about can build their future. It doesn't seem awkward to me.
Except for visitors in the context of it.
That's the big one.
I'm gonna put out there for the group to consider that both of the sentences, like the next one, is the island that preserved what we love and built what we needed. And I was suggesting that instead of "built what we needed," we have the island that preserved what we love and left our island better than we found it. Because we cannot build what we need if it is going to disadvantage the generations of the future. And I think that's something that we heard really loud from the community engagement, and that we need to build what we need, but we need to think about not just tomorrow, but 20 years ahead, the intergenerational equity. And so that's why I would suggest replacing "built what we needed" with "left our island better than we found it," including the investments we need to make in infrastructure, in social infrastructure, physical infrastructure, but also thinking about the long-term health of the island.
I don't hate it. I mean, I'm not in love with "build what we needed" anyway. Yeah, I prefer your version, to be honest. Have your hands up again?
Yeah, I agree. I think Hillary also brings up a good point of, I don't know if we want to keep using the word "build." It might be a little like she's saying, it's really sensitive. I think just rewording it to make it so that the focus is on, I mean, I don't know if we want like on the future, and I think Hillary brings up the good point of like making sure that we're mindful of the future, that like whatever we're going to do going forward, that it's still preserving for the future. So I think the getting rid of the "build" is probably a good idea.
What was the alternative suggestion for that one?
No, I think what she did was good. I think you said prospering and then leaving the island better than we found it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So it's preserved what we loved and left the island better than we found it?
Preserved what we love and left our island better than we found it. Preserve what we love and left. I don't know, that's to me. What?
Email this document.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Oh, absolutely.
What about the sentence, the comment that you had made before? I don't think we finished that
Oh,
conversation.
sure. I just wanted to go through both of them. It's really what Abby said, which is, I don't have a problem with can build their future, except in the context of what people are talking about and what people are worried about. I think it seems tone deaf when what we're trying to say is that we want people to have a bright future. We want people to come here and whatever their goals are, we want them to be able to achieve them. So
I like what you just said, can have a bright future.
yeah, we can go with that. We want our visitors to have a bright future too.
And I don't like the word alongside. I like the concept of something like in the context of our natural resources, natural
Yeah.
resources.
Okay, so Howard, you're suggesting that we strike after can have a bright future, that we would strike alongside and put in the context
Yeah.
of our beautiful.
All right, so if you all agree to the edits you've been discussing, what I have now is, as a result, we will maintain a thriving year-round community of diverse residents and visitors who can have a bright future in the context of our beautiful natural and historic resources.
One question about the word flourish. I didn't feel like open spaces flourish, but I don't feel strongly about it. I don't know if anybody else kind of. And then I had, in the spirit of Howard's interest of shortening bullet points, the bullet point that's about transportation. I mean, we already say that we want more efficiency. So we say improve the safety and efficiency of our transportation system. So I was suggesting that we maybe don't need the last bit about, what if we just said this? Improve the safety and efficiency of our transportation systems by prioritizing walking, cycling, and public transit and reducing private vehicle trips, period. And then that's just the end of it. I mean, if we say that we want people to move efficiently across the island, well, we're not going to build like 4-lane highways to improve efficiency, It just seems like that's what we really are talking about reducing traffic. So if we just say reducing private vehicle trips, period, we
Well,
communicate,
and then, because if you do that, we've done
done the
the
other.
last one, so.
Yeah, and I think it's just repeating itself. I don't have a problem with them reducing our dependence on private vehicles. Rather than saying,
Yeah,
But ultimately, we need to reduce private vehicle trips.
but that's reducing dependency, isn't it?
Yeah, I just couldn't make it work and sound good. Keep that in, that was a problem.
And I do, if I may, I do think it is trips, because I think if you start telling people you don't want them to have their cars,
Yeah,
you're going to create a little bit ill will.
everyone is dependent on their car and we always.
It's crazy. You drive by these traffic jams and like 98% are one person in
Yeah.
one car. And they're the ones complaining about the traffic when they're
Right.
part of the problem.
Right, so even if we encourage carpooling, that would be one way to reduce private vehicle trips.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, so I'll tell you the last part of that sentence is a nod to the need of people who live on the islands, particularly those of you who are year-round and those of you who work on the island and need to drive around for work. Trying to make a nod towards them that, yes, we're not going to ban your truck or your car, and you'll still be able to do what you need to do to make a livelihood. I don't know if it's necessary, but when I've tried to make that sentence shorter, I've put it back in because I do think you probably will get some pushback from people who are afraid that you're going to take their cars away.
yeah.
And there are
Well-
things that you can't do by public transit, walking and biking.
I mean, my point on that would be, if Dylan is pointing out why it's there, and that's correct. True it is. I don't think it's worth putting the word trip in for me is not worth the risk that he's talking about. Right.
I don't think putting in the word trip makes a difference. You can say reducing private vehicle trips while ensuring residents, visitors, and workers can move efficiently across the island.
But then I get back to, all right, if we reduce private vehicle trips, we're reducing the discretionary trips. We're reducing the ones where people are opting in to not take a car or to share a car. And on the flip side, this sentence is in the long range transportation plan, and honestly, I didn't like it then, and I still don't like it. And the reason is because what are you willing to do to ensure that people can move efficiently across the island? You know, that would say, that puts all sorts of things on the table that I think we're just not willing to do.
I think the idea is you're trying to encourage people to shift towards public transit and walking and biking where they can, and to reduce single-use wasteful trips, but simultaneously recognizing that there are things that people do need to drive for and probably will continue to need to drive for. You know, if I'm moving a lot of cubic yards of dirt or stone or building materials, I'm not strong enough to do that by bicycle.
Of course.
So what I'm hearing is that everyone recognizes the importance of the last piece of this sentence.
Oh, I absolutely recognize the importance of not making people afraid that they won't be able to have a car. Maybe I just know, I really know that we can't, like, there's nothing we can do about that. It's all based on incentives.
Exactly.
And I was more focused on, if we want to ensure that residents, visitors, and workers can move efficiently across the island, you can't do that and guarantee that everybody can take their car everywhere they want when, you know, like, it just seemed like there was an inherent conflict to me in the sentence. But I'm not gonna go to the
Oh, I
water
think,
for.
listen, the island's conflicted about vehicle use 100%. So,
Maybe we could say reducing discretionary vehicle trips.
yeah. But we do want, so we do want to keep the reducing our dependence on private vehicles, or we don't. Reducing discretionary vehicle trips?
Yeah, so right now you have two alternatives, keeping it the way it was, which is reducing our dependence on private vehicles. And then the second way is reducing discretionary vehicle trips.
And they're different.
Yep.
I mean, I prefer discretionary vehicle trips because it leaves it a little more open, yeah.
I'm good with that.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah. And keeping the last portion as well.
The long and short.
Oh, we're also gonna keep the last portion
Well,
about visitors and workers moving
Well, I mean,
efficiently.
you said you were concerned that people would think we're taking this stuff away.
Well, I think if we change it to discretionary, then
Then that takes away that fear.
I think
Okay,
so.
all right, and so then we'll get rid of the last piece of that sentence. Dylan, are you tracking with us?
Yep. Everybody else on your board okay with that? Cutting the last
Yeah.
phrase? Okay.
Yep.
So right now you have improved the safety and efficiency of our transportation system by prioritizing walking, cycling, and public transit and reducing discretionary vehicle trips.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to just point out that this may feel like wordsmithing, but when you're having these conversations, right, you're actually having the conversations that the master plan is about. It's about this balance of like, how far into committing to walking and biking are we, and what are the impacts of that, and how do we balance that for the whole community? Or if you're talking about building what we need versus leaving our island better than we found it, you are making a statement about future land use there. You're implying things about whether you do or don't need to build housing or other infrastructure. So what I'm saying is this is not an empty exercise.
So you don't mind if I have two?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I have, this one's quick. In the pros, I really like the diverse economy. And we had that come up again and again, diversify the economy, and we have it in the bullet points. But the bullet points might change. So I'm gonna suggest that when we have, it's about like 2/3 down, it says necessary goods and services are available on island. And then it says meaningful jobs, and I would just insert, and a diverse economy enable residents to thrive year round. So I'm suggesting put in the concept that we want to diversify the economy after meaningful jobs.
And you know, I don't think we want to diversify our economy. I think we just want to expand what's available.
But it's not up to you. It's what we heard in our
I just
study.
explain
Yeah.
this thing. What that really suggests by using that is that we want to build a bigger economy, that we want to diversify, that we want to, you know, like, I don't mean this, but bring in manufacturing, but you know what I mean? That's a really not a great use of the word to accomplish what you're trying to get to.
And I had this thought when we were talking about it earlier. Just because we diversify our economy doesn't mean there has to be growth, right?
Yeah, it means we get our scallop industry back. You know, people used to really make a lot of people made a living here with scalloping and shucking, catching and cleaning. And that is just evaporated.
But that's not diversify. So I wonder if there's a better word for diversify.
Yeah, so I think that this is a real good question for you all, is we didn't have a lot of indication of what people were concretely thinking of on the economy. We know that people were hoping for something where people can work a job, a single job, and be able to afford to live on the island year round. And there was a lot of negativity about real estate being the backbone of the economy, but we weren't hearing a lot of positive alternatives to that.
But I think it's true that a diverse economy doesn't necessarily mean a bigger one or something that continues to stress the resources on the island, but it's really about, just diversity is important ecologically, diversity is important economically, in that if the tourist economy collapses, there are other things that can fill in. Whatever it might be, I think that's how it's often thought.
Yeah, so I think that we need to take that growing out of it, or growth part out of it, or maybe it's just.
But I don't see it in it. I mean, I'm surprised there's
On this one,
pushback
not
because
so-
we have it in the bullet point, diversify our economy. So I was just suggesting that if we believe in that, having other, other ways to contribute to GDP on Nantucket, that we should have it in the pros as well. And we did have in all of the, exactly as Dylan said, in all of the community workshops, they actually use the word a more diverse economy. Participants note, this is number 7 in the visioning summary. Participants noted an over-reliance on real estate and tourism, suggesting the need for a more diverse year-round economy that provides good paying jobs.
Yeah.
There was discussion about what appropriate growth looks like for Nantucket and concerns about, quote, loving the island to death through over-tourism. Many expressed the need to balance a strong economy with preservation. So that's why I was suggesting that we put that concept in the pros. But if you all think it's already there.
Instead of the concept of diversify, maybe increase opportunities.
What is wrong with diversify?
Because I come from a commercial business world and that means something to me.
Yeah, and me also.
And
It means,
It means let's change our business plan.
let's get a new business model.
whatever
Let's do
people want, they want a new
Yeah,
business.
But it sounds very,
Yeah.
but it's really a little bit more extreme than what you're.
Okay, meaningful jobs in different.
Just expansion of opportunities. A meaningful opportunity.
Meaningful jobs in a variety of opportunities. meaningful jobs and varied opportunities.
What was yours?
I can't remember, I think I just said,
You said expanded opportunities, so it would be meaningful jobs and expanded opportunities, enable residents to thrive year round.
oh, you're good. I don't think you need meaningful there because opportunity is a positive word. So meaningful is a little bit redundant.
So I'm gonna back up. Necessary goods and services are available on island. Jobs and expanded opportunities enable residents to thrive year round.
But it doesn't we don't want to expand what we already have, right? We have to get in here and reflect the request that people want. They want support so that they can start businesses. They want like what Remain is doing with starting the
I
Hive.
agree with you. I just don't.
But
I
how
don't
do we
prefer
capture that?
Expand opportunities, not diversify.
That does capture it.
That does get to exactly what you just said.
A wider set.
You know, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
trying to work into document by committee is.
It's brutal, but
Yeah,
this
but
is,
I mean,
we're doing good work here.
yeah, but I'm not hearing.
How about wider, broader opportunities? It's the same as expanded, broader opportunities.
Relatively different. I always prefer what I suggested, but.
Me too.
Yep, they froze again.
Uh-oh.
Well, Dylan, maybe you can figure it out between the commentary and come up with a version.
I'd like to, Abby, but you see it's actually different
The point of
perspectives
just
on
meeting
what the
Yeah.
goals
was-
are.
Yeah.
So that's why it's challenging. We missed about the last minute of what you guys said. You froze.
Yeah, it's both.
Hold on a second. Well, I'm sorry. Leslie has the floor.
I'll start again. So I think the discussion today has been really great. The goal of today was to talk about a vision for us to present, to hold a public hearing on July 14th. So I just want to make sure I'm getting the right direction from you all, that the version 1 pros as you've changed is what you want to move forward with for the vision. And then the bullet points that you talked about that are really in version 2, you want to include somehow as priorities, but not part of the vision. But so do you want to include those priorities in the public hearing for July 14th? I'm not sure that our legal ad has covered that. Or do you want to only stick to the pros of the vision on July 14th?
I think it would serve us better as a board to have the priority included.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, otherwise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So if you do that, do you want that by that introductory sense of by 2045, Nantucket will transform our greatest challenges into our greatest successes, or do you want to drop that and just say after the pros paragraph, our priorities will be?
I prefer our priorities will be, well,
Yeah, I think I liked your proposed or draft priorities for master plan that he had said.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can share screen. So it could be something like this. So there's the pros paragraph and then our priorities will be, or something to that effect. Priorities of our master plan are, or our priorities for the next 20 years will be.
I think another way you put it, Dylan, was to achieve this vision, our priorities will be.
yeah. I'm sorry, Peter, we bumped out and now we're back.
Uh,
We're having technical difficulties, so.
right. Well, Dylan was suggesting our priorities, just to say our priorities for this will be, and then I said as it did in the previous version, to achieve this vision, our priorities will be, and then have your bullet points.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah, I like that, Peter.
All right.
Great.
I mean, talk about wordsmithing. Can I have one wordsmithing?
One,
One word.
yeah.
I would like us to consider taking out the word worldwide, where we say we will be known worldwide as an island. It just feels that's too grandiose. This is a great document.
Is that still in here?
Yeah, it is. I just think worldwide is like, look at, look at me, I'm San Jose, it's just.
I
not-
know, it's not,
Aragon version.
Yeah, it is.
it's,
Okay.
it's
It's in the pros. Or it is on the
It's
one
like
I got.
fifth or sixth
Version-
line down.
Version one.
It's-
Yep, there it is. We will be known right in the middle of it worldwide as an island that chose the path.
oh, yeah.
I think we could just say we will be known as an island.
I
you know,
agree.
Just take it
Yeah.
out.
I didn't never
Yeah,
like
free
that.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
it.
come on.
We'll get extra one.
Winner, winner, chicken
I'll give,
dinner.
I'll give my word to put back to Hillary.
I've used all my words.
All right then. So are you guys comfortable with,
Where did we land with the debate about how to express
oh,
a multitude of
flip the
opportunities?
coin and let them.
Oh,
fall?
we're letting them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we're gonna try to do is, I think we understand what the sides of that very subtle conversation are, which are, to what degree is the economy different in the future than it is now? Is it dramatically transformed, or is it slightly transformed? But we'll try to find language that balances that. For me, I guess what I heard in the public input is what's really most important about that is the results on people's quality of life and the minimization of whatever harms people see from the current economy. We try to cover the harms elsewhere. So with this set of phrases, we were trying to focus on the benefits, which were the necessary goods and services being available, and people being able to have decent lives, making a living on Nantucket.
Yeah.
I think that you hopefully will continue to have conversations about what that future economy looks like. And as you get greater clarity about it later in the master plan, you can come back and revisit this and maybe add some more detail to it.
Great.
Great.
Peter and Dylan, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we'll, I've already made most of these revisions, but we'll try to make sure that they're cleaned up and send it back for July 14th.
Great,
Right.
great.
Well done.
All right, yeah, thank you, board members, for improving on that, even though it was great to begin with, so.
They did a really good
Yeah.
job.
Much appreciated, you guys. So I think that's it for the planning board. I would entertain a motion to be done with this meeting, sir.
So,
Right, so I have a second.
Oh, sure. I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
All righty. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
We're excited not to see you now.
Can you mute?
I'll mute, don't worry. I'm just happy to be here.
We're happy you're here, my friend.
We love you, Nat.
Thank you, John. Okay. There we go.
Then I pass that out to some minutes.
Don't even. I may never recover from that. Oh, my goodness. I think we're gonna, hopefully Christina will,
We have to
We'll
wait,
show
we have to wait a minute. We're not up and running. Just-
oh, okay. We just don't want Sampson, Weston Sampson, if it was 6:15. That's a question, we're gonna have to move.
Mary.
I saw too.
Howard. Think you want them to.
Oh, I could do that.
Table, yeah.
You mean Barry wants my seat?
No, Barry doesn't have a seat here. You can go sit next to Barry.
I have. In our other meetings, that's Barry's seat.
Am I sitting in Barry's seat?
No.
I'm sitting there.
Okay.
What's that?
What's that?
I think Don's put it.
Yeah, I think good.